So, cinematography. You guys like movies, I'm assuming?
No, I hate them.
So Colby here is a aspiring film director. This guy's an actor.
Aspiring film watcher.
Aspiring film watcher. There you go. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's aspiring. You have watched films. You're a successful film watcher, many years of experience. And I am mostly a cinematographer these days. So we all have different and unique perspectives coming into it. So let's start with you. What makes a film for you? Like, what's appealing about the cinematography to you?
I feel like even like a year ago I would have had a different answer. But recently I've been very enjoying just the simplicity of just a well thought story. Like stuff like that I've watched recently, like Seven Samurai and Barry Lyndon, just
excellent
things
films
that I like didn't value as much before, but just nothing like super crazy, just very clearly a good story with no like, I don't know, no need to overcompensate for anything, just straight to the point. This is the story, this is how it goes, and then it's, I don't know.
It's all wrapped up.
I think that's what makes a movie perfect.
You know, there are different mediums to filmmaking, and I like to think that visually is the first one. I mean, like we started out with silent films. You didn't have all the audio or the fancy editing techniques, all this other stuff that we have today. And so in order to, like, what fascinated people was what was on screen, what you were looking at, seeing things move for the first time, and then furthermore, what we can do with that. And to me, cinematography is just the first foundation in just what brings a movie to life. What can you do with a camera to captivate people in a way where they don't want to look at anything else? That to me is what makes a good movie a good movie. You know, if you walk out of anything and you don't care what you're missing, then clearly something wasn't being done right.
Something's wrong, yeah.
You need something to interest you. You need something to keep you hooked in. And the best way to do that is by seeing something on screen.
Well, I'll move that over to you then. So in terms of film and the visuals of film, how much of the story do you think is told through the images you're seeing? And how much of it is more, you know, the audio, the acting? Like what percent of it is told through the visual style? How critical is it to you, the visual style?
It's hard to say because I feel like it very, very much varies on the actual, like the concept of the movie itself. Because you can watch a movie like Conan the Barbarian.
Sure, yeah.
And that's a movie you can cut the sound out entirely and you will completely understand everything that it says.
I know what you're talking about, yes.
Like you need no sound. You can just watch that and it's the same movie. And then a movie I just watched, Whisper of the Heart. I watched the Japanese dub and the English one.
I haven't seen that.
Just the fact that the audio was different completely changed how I actually thought of the movie, where I changed it from like a movie that I adored to a movie that was just barely okay to me.
Interesting.
So I think it very much varies.
Interesting. So the sound almost the dialogue kind of ruined one experience for you just from the sound alone being different. Interesting.
Well, I mean, of course, there's always a blend you have to have. I mean, nowadays we're not going back to silent films. You're not going to see that unless it's some little arty-farty little thing. You know, paying respect to the good old days. But now people don't want that. They want what they can have on YouTube, sound and visuals. But movies aren't podcasts. Movies aren't audiobooks. Okay, movies are an experience that you will not have come to life right before your eyes. And so in order to do that, you have to be able to see it. And that's why I think that's a little more important than the audio. Like, of course, like what brings it all together, what makes a masterpiece is all of the pieces fitting together perfectly. But the first building block that you have to lay down is getting a camera and shooting something. Without that, there's no movie.
So if I presented to you a film with a truly spectacular storyline, but the camera work was so amateur that you personally could not help but notice it, do you feel like that would be enough to ruin the story completely?
Yes, I do. I think that could completely hold it back. There's a movie not too long ago called Till Death Do Us Part, which is terrible, and it came out last year. And one of the biggest things I noticed about it was just how poorly shot it was. And it was an interesting concept about like this bride that has like fight off all her, like these groomsmen trying to kill her. Cause like, I don't know.
That sounds interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
the
Bright
trailer
John
seemed
Wick
interesting. Yeah, but because of how poorly it's shot, I didn't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
And then let alone engage it for an hour and a half. So that movie's bad for multiple reasons, but that was one of the biggest things that stood out to me.
What's the worst? I'll start with you. What's the worst film visually that you've ever seen in memory?
I don't know.
I'm just gonna ask you to roast something right now. He's not like hiding behind the curtain here.
Really,
Like, just
I almost
shoot your
couldn't
shot.
tell you. I try and avoid watching bad movies. If I start not liking it, I'll turn it off.
What to you decides? So you don't even watch films that are bad. How do you find films? Or like friend filter kind of?
Yeah, it's just through
IMDb.
like recommendations, whatever. A bad habit. It's bad, but I'll look up a movie's Rotten Tomatoes first.
Sure,
like,
sure.
Am I gonna like this?
Now here's the critic score or the audience score, which is more important to you?
Audience score.
Here we go. Good man.
I mix them.
You mix them? 50-50?
Yeah, find them, pick the median. That's how I base my first judgment.
How have you ever watched like an IMDb like 10 of 10 that you absolutely hated?
Never watched an IMDb 10 of 10.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Rotten Tomatoes 10 of 10 that you absolutely hated.
Still haven't.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to think of one. Man, give me a sec. I don't know. Like, there's this one called Beyond the Black Rainbow. It's not like a 10 out of 10. It's got like a 70 or something.
I haven't even heard of that.
And it's just boring. It's really boring
Fair.
and weird, and it's really nothing interesting about it to me. The concept's interesting, but they don't do much with it because it's so, like I say, artsy fartsy, that it's hard to engage with it.
French Connection.
The French Connection.
That one was.
I'm trying to remember now because I know I've seen it.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson, poorly shot.
Wait, not the French Connection.
Oh, French Connection. No, that's French Dispatch. French Connection, the 60s.
Oh
one.
yeah. The
You're
French,
right,
yeah.
that
French
sucks.
Connection. It was very boring, and we looked at. I looked at it after. I had no idea.
Now,
about
this
it.
is interesting to me because I have not seen it, but I have heard of its reputation, and it has a reputation for being like an iconic film.
Yeah, like it. I was reading like reviews. It's like, one of the greatest chase scenes of all time. I didn't even notice when the chase scene was happening.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It was very. Yeah, I had to think of a.
It'd be interesting to see.
Maybe not an example of a bad movie, but definitely an example of a dated movie. And some people
Yeah.
say there are no dated movies. The French Connection is a dated movie.
You're going to hear first, folks. Do not watch the French Connection. It's terrible.
There's a sequel. I'm not gonna watch it.
After that glowing review, I can't say I blame you. So for this question, I know you're a little bit less like deep cinema, but you sound like you have a pretty comprehensive knowledge of film. What would you say is a very inspiring to you film director, and at the same time another director who is overrated or overhyped in your opinion, or one you just didn't
Good
like?
question.
Someone.
Sucks because you already said his name. Well, I love Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
I love
Of course
his
you do.
style.
Yeah.
So you're both Wes Anderson guys then, huh?
No,
Oh, you don't like Wes Anderson?
I like him, but he's not like one of those guys that I'm like gushing over, kicking my feet.
Fair enough.
You talk about Wes Anderson.
I mean, I love his style. I love like the super symmetrical. I love anything that's just a movie that you can describe as every scene is a painting.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's like that, I immediately love the movie. Like
I remember this striking. Again, I'm a cinematographer by trade, and I do remember the very striking visual style of the Grand Budapest Hotel, for instance. That film specifically, as much as I do like Wes Anderson, I would say that stood out as a very visually beautiful film. And even watching it back more recently, he breaks a lot of the film rules. Like he does a lot of things where the camera is like slightly off center or doesn't focus or follow the right thing if you were just painting by numbers. But he knows exactly what he's trying to say with every frame and is able to pull it back around. And I'm sure Colby's dying over here because he not that much of a Wes Anderson person, but
Look, I like Wes Anderson.
tell me it's not Christopher Nolan, or excuse me, Michael Bay.
It's not Michael Bay. It is never. Like with Wes Anderson, like I think his style is very unique, but because it's kind of out there, you're either gonna love it or you're not gonna connect with it that much. And of his movies, I connected to ish, but it's not something that I adore with all my heart. I like rapid fire stuff, things that go like rapid pace, that are all over the place, eccentric. So I'm thinking more, what's that guy's name? Mad Max. George
George
something.
Romero?
No,
No.
it's not George Romero. And the guy that did Baby Driver and Shaun.
Oh, Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. I like Edgar Wright a lot because he's all over the place. He's fast moving, and
you know he's considered indie.
Yeah,
he's not backed by a big studio.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I love most about him. I think he's just, I don't know, he's one of those guys. Every time he makes a movie, it's really good, and the style is something the style is something that always sticks out to you about it. And so that's why I really appreciate him. But like, George, what's his name? Okay, well,
the Mad Max guy.
Yeah, the Mad Max guy, Mad Max Fury Road. I love that movie because it's so eccentric, so out there, so wild. I can only dream of making something like that someday.
I'm sure you will someday.
Here's hoping.
Look forward to seeing it, and you'll definitely be in something like that, right? You'll be that guy that witnessed me,
Nicholas Hoult.
The guy that blows himself up jumping on the car. Well, we're out of time for today, but thank you so much for giving your opinions on things, and I hope to drag you back out to do a couple more of these at some other point.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping.